And I get told by somebody, hey, Ronnie, you know, the arm's going to hit a gang member in there, right? Well, at that point, it was just Arm and me. I'm the only other gang member. So I light up. What do you mean? Yeah, you didn't hear? Now I didn't hear. So I'm like, oh, that's even worse. So I go up to their shot caller's pad and I look in and he's got a couple of youngsters in there. He's got gloves on his hands, big ones, and he's training them up, getting them souped up and warmed up, right? I tell him, hey, what's happening, man? He goes, ain't nothing happening. I go, oh, yeah, okay, boom. I slam the door. Now I'm really on point. Okay, it's coming. I'm going to have to get something and just do my thing.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Ronnie Harrell.
It was a blood-curdling scream right there, coming over everything. I mean, that dude was just, at first he was screaming, and then it was just a gurgle, and then it was nothing at all. But yeah, so.
Were they like walking around with the head?
No, they just did their thing because eventually the cops did get there, but they got it off, man. You know, in Victorville, they did throw it on the yard. They did. I wasn't there for it. They did cut it off. They threw it on the yard
to show everybody they're not fucking around.
Yeah, made an example. They hit the dudes, and he was brand, and he was doing some foul stuff. So they hit the dude's bodyguard first, whacked him, and then went and cut his head off and threw it on the yard as an example. But it took 2 years for that shot to get called. It took 2 years.
Doesn't matter, right?
It took 2 years to get to the back and come back out. But nobody forgets. It doesn't matter. Nobody forgets. You know, like they just had that BGF got out of the hole in Folsom, right? And he had been in there 20-something years in the hole for killing an AB. And he gets out. He's out 2 days. And the whites form a circle around him where none of the other races could get in. And the guys went to work on him and killed him behind the circle. So, 20 years later.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Their memory is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Now, did you hear anything? Because you spent a lot of time in prison.
Yeah.
When Sammy the Bull messed up and he got caught with the ecstasy and he was going back to prison. Did you hear about that in the system?
Yeah, it was all over the system because it was all over the news. So it was all over the system that Sammy had done that. But you know what else was all over the system? Is how he could put himself out there still the way he does and be all right. What happened to the mob that now that's acceptable?
Well, now he has a brand tattoo on him and he's bragging about it.
Not for California though. No, he not see here's the difference, right? The only brand
is Odin. He has the Odin tattoo.
Yeah, he's claiming that as a religion. The only brand and that's called the brand is California. The rest of them are AB, TAB, and Aryan Brotherhood, Texas, and Colorado, and those are all they're just AB. But the only brand is California brand.
I think a lot of people get it confused.
Yeah, they do. They think AB is the brand, but no, that's just exclusively that brand is California.
So he got his tattoo from a dropout.
Yeah, imagine that.
It makes it not legit, right? And now he's on video bragging about it.
I mean, look, you could get up right now, walk down the street to a tattoo shop, and get a hammer put on you.
I could reach in my bag right here. I'm a tattoo artist.
There you go. Get a Volk knot put on you. There's some that may say, nah, that's just not my get down, man. But for the most part, you got the cash, you can get it done. So there's a group of, no doubt, Odinists, right? Fake Odinists or Odinists that they're all fucked up. And if something ever comes down, they're going to tell on each other because they've already shown that's who they are. All they have to do is get put back into that same spot and they'll do it again. Yeah. So you can never trust those people. So naturally, they got to find each other, right? You know, and you know what they say, the cream floats to the top. They're swimming at the bottom. Believe me, they're not the cream.
Have you seen anybody have tattoos and then make them get covered up in prison?
They get covered up. They make them get
Yeah,
them covered up.
yeah.
Well, if you got a rock on you and you didn't earn it and you're not part of that, you're not getting that covered up. No, they're going to make an example of you. You're just not walking no more.
So it's just a picture of a rock.
It's a shamrock. Well, people
Oh,
call it
a
a clover,
clover, a
but
clover. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a shamrock. It's three leaves. It's a shamrock. It's a rock. You know, people that call it a clover don't really know what they're talking about. But the brand it's a rock. Um,
Shout out to
they get that on them.
Ken Shamrock. I just interviewed him yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
great.
you know, they you get that on you, and that ain't you. Somebody you don't even have to be on the yard with Brand. You're gonna get whacked. There's somebody on that yard that's starstruck and wants to get next to them dudes and knows that if they put a knife through that rock on you, they cut that thing off, they take you out. They're in good graces right from the gate. You know,
So
their
it's
name
their
is good.
ticket in. Their ticket
It's,
in is to
that's
hit
their ticket
somebody.
to get looked at. Yeah, that's their ticket to get looked at. You know, it won't get them in because if that was the case, people just be picking and choosing who gets in, and no longer the brand would. But it will get them looked at, and it'll get them in good graces. The majority of the people that the AB is fucking with don't make it. They put a lot of work in, but they don't have it all. They're missing something, either intelligence, there's something, and they don't get in. They don't make it. The majority. It's an elite club, and you got to fit the whole picture to get in. So the rest of them get used up. They get used up, and when the time is right, they get whacked. You got to kill them. They know too much. You know, so
What about Tommy Silverstein? Did you ever have any dealings with him?
no. Okay, so in Leavenworth, when you're going to Chow or to the movie theater or whatever, like, say you're coming out of C Wing or you're coming out of A Wing, you go around this little cul-de-sac and there's a big long cabinet in a circle. And then behind it, there's a literal hole in the floor. And then down in there were cells. And those were Tommy's cells before they sent him to ADX. You can see that in the hothouse. He was down in there welded up, and then the cameras were watching him up here, and they just dogged him out. Anybody who, they took Tommy out of circulation. They called him an animal, ordered him welded in the cell, no human contact. They did all this exemplary stuff to Tommy to make an example out of him, right? And so he was taken out of play. He could have been honorary everything because he's a prison hero. You know, all he did, he just killed cops. That was his thing. And he got the dirty end of the stick of that deal in Marion. But yeah, and you got to keep your okay. So let's see. I'm in a joint, another one on another yard in Florida, but they got two penitentiaries. So I'm in the other one, and I'm in a unit where there's Aryan nations. I'm the only one of me on the yard. And I'm the only one of me in that unit. And there's not Aryan nations. There's SAW. There's ARM, American Resistance, big arm movement there, right? And this guy comes down. He's Aryan nations. He comes down out of Marion, and he touches down. Everybody's cool with him and all of that. I go out to Chow and I get told by somebody, "Hey, Ronnie, they're going to the arm's going to hit a gang member in there, right?" Well, at that point, it was just Arm and me. I'm the only other gang member. So I light up. What do you mean? Yeah, you didn't hear? No, I didn't hear. So I'm like, oh, that's even worse. So I go up to their shot caller's pad and I look in, and he's got a couple of youngsters in there. He's got gloves on his hands, big ones, and he's training them up, getting them souped up and warmed up, right? I tell him, "Hey, what's happening, man?" He goes, "Ain't nothing happening." I go, "Oh, yeah, okay, boom." I slam the door. Now I'm really on point. Okay, it's coming. I'm going to have to get something and just do my thing. And all day long, this weird vibe and all this stuff's going on. I go back up there again, and he says, "Ronnie, I told you ain't nothing happening with you, man." I said, "Okay." Boom, I leave. And this dude, Poppy, right? He's one of their shooters. And finally, I get tired of it. So I go to Poppy. I tell him, hey, man, get your fucking shit. Get your fucking shooters. Go to my cell and let's fucking do this right now. You guys don't have to get caught with me. And he starts laughing. He goes, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, look, man, I see what's going on. You guys are going to hit a gang member today. I'm the only other one in here, and I'm tired of fucking waiting for it. And he's laughing. He goes, no, man. He goes, the dude that just got here, he he's Aryan Nations, but we're going to whack him for something in Marion. I just relaxed. Boom. They killed him that night. They held one hand against one wall, one hand against another, and do it a big old knife. Just, I heard his heart pop. It popped like you just hear it. I tell my cellie, let's go. That's a wrap. Went back to the cell. And, yeah.
That anxiety of not knowing can really drive you insane.
Man, I got tired. I was willing to die just to get it over with. Let's just go, man. I don't know what was going through my head at the time. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, man.
Have the cops ever offered you protective custody and to get out of the hole?
Oh, I mean, the cops don't generally, it ain't them getting at you with shit. Usually it's guys running to them, asking for a way out, and they send them in. But it's usually these gang organ squad and all of that they'll lock you up, put you back in the hole. They'll bring you in and try to interview you. They'll cross you up, try to get you in the mix, and then use that as leverage. And yeah, there's a lot of games always going on trying to get people to turn. But usually the guys that turn are the guys that go in there and offer to do it, because they already know their name's on the list. Probably bump right to the top.
I mean, and in your life, that's not an option, right?
No. It ain't enough. Look, I got out a different way. I started that website, like I said, star2023.org, and it tells it all that I do. I started a dog program. I started all these programs. I wrote the book, The Encyclopedia of Self-Help. I published that. That's on Amazon. I did all this stuff that they noticed. And all these new laws are passed, and then they're like, hey, if not this guy, then who? And I got these programs right now. One's in Soledad, and the other one just now is starting up in Stockton with LWAPs, guys that got that life without. They're all facilitating it for me. And so those things are still going in. I'm struggling with the funding, but you know what? That'll come eventually. That'll come. But yeah, so there's other ways. So I'm living example that you don't have to do that. First of all, you don't get yourself in trouble. All right. And if you do get in trouble, then man the fuck up and own what you did. You know, go out with a little respect. Other than that, there is you walk the right line and you want to step back or something. There's ways to do it. I'm a living example of a way to do it. You know, now granted, if I would start showing up in places where those dudes are and all of that, like in your face with shit, well, I'm just asking to be whacked. You know, but I'm not. They got so many guys that have done so much bad shit to them that I'm good. I'm not out here doing bad things to those dudes. You know, I'm not out here talking bad about them. They need to be in there. We need them inside there. But the guys who don't want to go that route, I want to help them. You know, I want to help them.
Well, we're going to get your story out there, and hopefully maybe people could help with the funding. They could buy your book. They could see what you're into, and maybe they can give you a little bit of help on the way, you know?
If they do, okay, so what I do is this. I don't want my book to cost anybody in prison. It's 10 books in one, denial, man, everything you could imagine. It's 10 books in one. So I don't want guys in prison to miss that just because they can't afford it. Now, Amazon, they want $72 for the book. To buy all of those books separately would cost you probably $500. Me, I get an author's price and all of that stuff, and I sell them to the nonprofit for $50 a piece, but I donated the whole book. So any profits that come to me out of that go right back into the nonprofit. Yeah. So I don't make anything off of that book. I'm working on a couple more right now that should do me that, but in the meantime, that book is just for that program. So any money that comes in on that website right there that buys those books and everything goes to that program.
There's grants you can get for nonprofits, for organizations.
There is, but okay, so I've just been I've been reading up and studying on writing the grant proposals and how to do all of that. And there's fierce competition for that. and you really got to have your stuff together. So um, right now in California, they need proof and examples of success in your program. Well, because my program has been linked to the Veterans Suing Veterans with this guy, Ron Self, who started that for several years now, I have that proof. So while they're cutting this funding out for all these other ones that don't have it, I should be able to slide in and get some. But that doesn't happen overnight. You could put in now and not see that money for a year and a half. And then with Chris, the with Chris Curtis, the whole at-risk youth. Well, that's
Yeah,
a great thing too.
shout out to Chris Curtis from the dark side,
Yeah, yeah.
Orange County.
He
Yeah.
he does things with the youth, right? So and we need that, because the best way to stop somebody from coming back to prison is to keep them out in the first place. So we can't leave that alone. So me and him have joined forces. He's going to be added to this site, and we're just going to do this whole thing together.
It's a great cause.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, what's the difference between when you were out last and now? Is it a lot different, the world, and is it hard to adjust?
Okay, so I'm real fortunate. All right. I have a wife, right, who I get out, man, and she has everything for me. I mean, I can lift this up and show you the neighborhood I'm living in. Nice homes, everything. Kids just throw their bikes down in the park at night and go home. The bikes are still here. Where I grew up, and none of them bikes would be there. They'd all be painted and elsewhere. But here, it's not that kind of neighborhood. I get out. She puts me down in a Yukon XL Denali, so I can get back and forth with my programs and stuff. She has all my clothes waiting for me and everything. She picks me up. Now, here's a weird deal. They gave me the time off in court, right? They're supposed to let me out. Well, they screw up on my date and tell me, you don't get out until 2030 or something, right? I tell them, no, that's bad. I shouldn't even have parole. I should be out now. So I tell my wife, we break the code to everybody that works in Sacramento over all the big bosses for their emails. All right. I see how one goes, and I wonder, if I do this one thing with these names, will it give me all of them? So I do, and it does. And we blanket them all, threaten to sue them, tell them what's going on. The next morning, they redo everything. They say, oh, well, we still got time. You're going to let you out on Monday. All right. But they had screwed up big time. I should have never been in as long as I was. Right. So over the weekend, they get a hold of some psych and put some crazy hold on me. Monday morning, I get called to the psych, and the psych woman tells me, you know what? This is BS. There's nothing wrong with you. They're full of it. I said, yeah, that's what I'm telling you too. So I go back to the cell. They're not going to let me out the day I'm supposed to. They told my wife, come pick him up. She's in the parking lot. I go on a hunger strike. My wife goes on a hunger strike. She calls the warden and tells him, here's the deal. My husband's in his cell on a hunger strike. I'm in your parking lot on a hunger strike, and the news is on the way. And he goes, whoa, hold on. Let me send my representative out there. So he comes out there, and my wife runs it all down to him and says, look, you guys can get away with a guy in a cell being on a hunger strike and not getting no exposure, but I ain't leaving this parking lot. Me and my dog's out here right now, and we're on hunger strikes, and the news is coming. He goes, just don't do that. Let me look into this. They let me out at 5:30 that night. So that's the kind of woman I got. And she made sure that everything is set up good for me, right? I mean, she just bought me a nice Saxon custom Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Wow.
All clean. So I got that too.
How'd you meet her? How'd you meet her?
I was with this woman in New Mexico, right? And I had sent her $53,000 to put in the bank for me. And I told her, look, when I call for that money, it means I need it. And I told her, you can use a little here and there, but that's for something else. I have a phone in my cell, and I'm having problems with her anyways. I can see things going up. So I just start blanketing all these women on this website, just friend requests, friend requests, friend requests. I'm out there, I'm going to get a new wife. Meanwhile, she's on there. She comes on there and tells me, hey, you know what? You could probably find you a decent woman if you get all these fucking tweakers off your site. And I tell her, look, here's the deal. Just like I don't really know you, I don't know any of them. I'm just looking for my next wife. And so she's going, well, I'm going to help you. And that's how this all starts. And then the other one, when I call for the 53 grand, she tells me there's no more money in the bank. I told her, what do you mean there's no more money in the bank? She goes, yeah, I took the kids to Disneyland. I go, $53,000. You could have bought Mickey Mouse. The hell?
Yeah.
So,
What the
now I know this is all bad. And then this one right here, I had sent like 10 grand to her to put in the bank for me. And it's a little bit of a test. And I had spent a couple thousand out of it. And I call her back and I tell her, hey, how much money do I have in the bank? She goes, do you have about 12,000? I said, look, I only sent you 10. She goes, yeah, but I thought you might need a little more. I just went, well, I am married to the wrong woman. There is no doubt. And this divorce went through. I married her and happily ever after, you know.
how long of a period from when you met her till you married her? And did you marry her when you were in prison?
Yeah, I married her in prison, had family visits. We've been together a little over 5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you know, I mean, everybody has their problems. You know, can't be around somebody 24/7 without having some issues. You know, these little conflicts. We really, for the most part, we get along real well. You know, and
Yeah.
we're a team. All of this stuff you see set up, that Star 2023.org, I did from in prison. And the only reason I was able to do that from in prison was because I had a good wife on the streets, you know, one I could trust. So the whole thing, she spearheaded for me out here. So when I stepped out, everything was in play.